In recent weeks, Germany's far-right Alternative for Germany party, better known as the AfD, has been hit by a growing scandal over allegations of nepotism. The main charge is that lawmakers have given taxpayer-funded jobs to the relatives of their colleagues. The scandal emerged in Saxony-Anhalt, the very place where the AfD is hoping to win elections in September and govern its first ever state. Research by various outlets uncovered a vast taxpayer-funded network of patronage in the AfD group there. At the centre is lead candidate Ulrich Siegmund. His father is employed in the office of MP Thomas Karel. Then there is Tobias Rausch. 3 of his siblings work with lawmaker Claudia Weiss, whose own daughter works with Siegmund. Back to Rausch, his wife works for the AfD fraction and his brother-in-law works for the AfD in Berlin. Is this the tip of the iceberg? To help me unpack all of this and what it means for German politics, today I'm joined by Martin Schmidt, an experienced journalist, RTL Correspondent. Martin, let's start with Saxony-Anhalt, a really small state, but it's been making the headlines across the country. Just sum up what's going on there in this state.
So it started with an internal fight. And in the middle of that is Jan Wenzel Schmidt, who is a parliament member of the Bundestag. And there were allegations that he founded a company, wanted to sell diamonds from China and artificial diamonds, and that he has somebody working for him for this company, but who was paid by him as a parliament member. So the allegation said that he used the parliament money paying somebody that worked for him for his company, so that, yeah.
That's obviously a complete no-go.
And that would be illegal, right? So, and there have been these allegations, and the first thing normally in the party is the reaction that they say, okay, it's just something the press is making up to make us look bad, and they just want to work against us. But the press hates us, and they're working for the other parties to make us look bad. So, but the allegations became more and more. There were more and more reports about it, and so that's what usually happens in the AfD, is that they kind of shift and they notice that it's going to be difficult to defend that for a longer time. So they started to be a little more distant to Jan Wenzel Schmidt, and in the end
they tried to kick him out of the party, no?
They even said, okay, we have to kick him out. The problem is Jan Wenzel Schmidt was always in the center of the party in this state, so he knows everything. He even created networks within this part of the AfD, and he knows how everything works, and that's why other AfD members are now saying, how could you do that? Why couldn't you have just find any solution with him? But you can't fight against him. If you do that, he'll just start a war against you.
But you've broken an incredible story recently about similar things happening in another state, in Lower Saxony. I got the story here in front of me, and basically, I'll read it. If the allegations made by this European lawmaker, Anja Arndt, are true, it would basically, the allegations that she's making are that in Lower Saxony, the state branch is, she says, being run by a corruption network. So another state completely, and again, allegations that there's corruption at play here, that there's a network where jobs are allocated. Tell me more about what you discovered.
So yeah, her allegations are that if you want to become a parliament member, you have to get elected. You have to get on a list, on the party list in that state. And so the boss of the AfD in that state, her allegations are that he's going to the people that are interested ahead of the election and are telling them, okay, I will get you on the list. I will help you to get there. But instead, you have to make sure that if you get elected, in the end, you have to at least give me 35% of your budget for employees, so I could use it for people that I have to get jobs that are party members, and I will use them as well for stuff that they can do for the party in my state. And so, you have to swear that you will give me that money in the end, or that employees of yours for my own purposes. That's her allegations.
And what's the response?
The response is, so first the parliament members of the AfD from that state responded, that's completely false. We never did something. We are now elected, and that never happened. And the party leader and the bosses from the party in that state as well are saying, no, that's completely wrong.
You have two different elements or dynamics to the story. You've got the one hand, which is something which is not illegal, which is hiring the relatives of your colleagues, yeah?
It would be illegal if you hire them by yourself,
yeah.
But if someone else hires them, it's legal. And the story is, the history about that is that someone came up in the party and said, hey, that's if you take my wife, I'll take yours, kind of like that. And so we can like in exchange get something out of it. And somebody else heard about that and said, hey, if you do it, I'll do it as well. And so they are saying that more and more people are doing it in the AfD. Like they're now in the third legislation in the German Bundestag. And so in the beginning, there were probably not that many people doing it, but now they're much more doing it because they knew, hey, everybody's doing it, then I want to do it as well. That's the saying. And there are even party members telling me, high-ranked members telling me that at least 50% of the parliament members of the AfD have relatives of someone else or close friends working for them.
Just to be clear, 50% of lawmakers in the AfD group in the German parliament, so we're talking about 150 lawmakers, 151 to be precise, around half of them might be employing people that are related to other colleagues.
That's an allegation that some high-ranked member of the fraction told me, and he would say, "Yeah, it's difficult. We should change something." But yeah.
What's interesting though about these stories that have emerged in recent weeks is not so much the criticism that you often get from other political parties whenever the AfD is involved in a story. For me, it's been the kind of the criticism from within the party. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so first, the story got even bigger when Björn Höcke, the famous party leader in Thuringia,
in the East, yeah.
A proven right-wing extremist, but he's a very influential person in the AfD, and he came out saying we can only beat ourselves by doing stuff like that.
So he said, like, we're our own worst enemy, and he also shared a blog post from a right wing intellectual who's very popular, very influential in the
right. Götz Kubitschek, yes.
Götz Kubitschek, where he said we need to clean this up. That's quite a statement for when the Höcke wing comes out and says there's a problem here. That's sending a signal, no, to the rest of the
because they're very powerful and they have a powerful network inside of the party. Then even the leaders know they can't just tell it's just made up. It's just, I don't know, something the others brought up to get us lose more elections or so. So if someone with such an influence from inside came out saying, yeah, there's something going on and we have to change that, nobody can tell anymore that there's nothing. So yeah, they have a big problem, at least since then. And even party leader Tino Kruppalla came out and said, yeah, maybe the first things, the relatives, that's not illegal, but I don't like it and I don't think it's good. We have to talk about it. And now there's more stories coming up that may be even illegal, yeah.
Is this just something that happens because the AfD is a new party? What do we know? Can we compare it to other parties?
It probably is a problem that they're a younger party because there are more people that knew that they can get more powerful in powerful positions, in positions where they get paid very good, very fast, because I think what's really interesting for me that I learned out of that situation, that some party members told me, that it's maybe the difference to other parties, maybe it happens in other parties as well, that the fight for power, for political influence, that's something that I always looked at. If there are fights inside of a party, I always looked at it as a fight for the right way, the right political way, like the fight for the powerful positions, to have more influence, to get the party in the direction the politician wants it to. What I never saw that clearly, which is maybe happening in other parties as well, but especially in the AfD, it is happening. That's what everybody is telling me. They're fighting because it's about money for themselves. They're fighting because if they get elected, they are a member of a parliament which is paid pretty good. And for lots of the AfD members, it's a very they wouldn't get paid that good in their own jobs.
Yeah,
there are people with good jobs and haven't had another life, but there are lots of people who didn't. And so it's, the fighting is not that much about political influence, because there's so many opportunists inside the AfD that just don't care if it's going more in the right-wing extremist way, or if it's going more moderate way, more CDU or more Björn Höcke. So that's something that, yeah, there are people that have completely, they know what they're doing, but the bigger part of the AfD members, they're just opportunists, and they want to see where the majority is going, and they just want to stick to the majority, because all the other things, they just don't care. But they care about their own money, and they care about their jobs that they get into, like to be in a parliament. It's interesting.
Status, isn't it?
You're interesting. You have a great cards where it says that you're an interesting guy, and maybe you have never been that before, and you get lots of money for that, and you don't want to lose it. And that's why you're so open for that kind of networking inside of the party, to get rid of everyone that stands in your way. And if you have a boss that says, I'll do that, I'll fix that for you, you just have to stick to me, and then it just works. It's and that's the allegation that's in the room, and that's what people inside the AfD, influential people, are telling me.
How big of a problem could this be for the party? I mean, we mentioned at the beginning that Saxony-Anhalt is an important state for the party. In September, there'll be elections there. At the moment, the AfD is top of the polls, could even, quite unusually for Germany, could even win an outright majority there, depending on how other parties do. Basically, it's in a commanding position, and it's really important for the AfD that it does well in these elections, because it wants to build up momentum. Could these stories basically dampen the mood in the party and impact these elections?
At the moment, it's not happening. So the polls they're not going down for the AfD at the moment. So the first polls we had after the allegations came up were they just get another point as well.
You're talking about national polls, yeah?
Yeah, national polls.
So nationally, the AfD are kind of on 25%, depending on which poll you look at, which is neck and neck. Depending on which poll you look at, is neck and neck with the CDU.
So yeah, but what is happening is that there are more and more party members telling that they get letters, emails of people that are angry, and of party members that are angry. You have Björn Höcke saying this would be something that would hurt us a lot, and he's probably saying that because, for me, it's like there are three things. First of all, inside of the AfD, the people are they're envy. So if they get to know, oh, there's a system where other members, like friends of mine who are in the party as well, they benefit from it. They get even money out of it.
You think envy is really a motivating factor?
That's for sure. There are people that are angry. out of that human feeling. They're just they want to have the money as well, and they want to get something out of it as well. So that's something. But the thing is that it's also, and that's the two other aspects, it's attacking the core of the AfD, because they're saying two things. They're saying they're the alternative, because their own allegation to all the other parties in the parliament is that they're just kind of criminals that don't have anything they want to do for the Germans. They don't care. They just are looking for themselves and want to be influential, but they just don't care what happens to the country. What that only matters for the AfD. So that's their allegation. And if now we find out that, oh, the AfD members are much more, or if the others are doing it, we're not sure. Sure, there have been wrongdoings by other parties as well. But if we find out there's kind of a system in the AfD, or it's such a wide problem, then how can they still say that the others are just working for themselves if we now know there's so many AfD members doing that? That's one. And the other thing is, the AfD is always telling that the other parties are like, there's one boss and he tells everybody what to do, and nobody can really, there's no democracy in the other parties anymore. And they're the real grassroots movement, where the base is telling the bosses what to do, and where you have to decide, and where you are not only following a leader, but you're the ones, and the base is so important. And if we now find out, Basisdemokratie, that's the German word, right? And if we now find out, oh, there's like structures inside of the state parts of the AfD that prevent grassroots movements from happening, the democracy from happening, because they sit in the Pokerrunde and they just decide what will happen and who will be important in the next election and who's not going to be in it anymore. It just attacks the core of the self-understanding of the AfD.
Could it really have a substantial long-term impact on the party's progress? Because, as I say, it's doing well in the polls, and there's a sense of momentum around the party, and I wonder if this might end up hurting it.
So that's what they are saying in the party. It could have a big impact, and I would say yes. Exactly, just like we said before, there have been so many problems inside the party, and normally in Germany we would say the right-wing extremists, the Nazi speeches, that's something in Germany that had so much impact normally on other parties, or if there were other things like that going on, and the impact was so big that normally the party was
like a
over.
Career ender, essentially.
Yeah, career ender. Party wouldn't be getting bigger anymore. But the AfD is over that. They just, the people that still want the AfD, they obviously don't care, because these kind of stories, they're now going on and on and on. They're not stopping, and there's no reason for the party to do anything against it anymore, because they get the sense, okay, it doesn't matter, we are now higher in the polls than ever, so why should we stop somebody from saying anything or prevent anything? Maybe it even helps them, and that's difficult for Germany, but it's something everybody has to face at the moment. And the thing now is new, and just as I said, it attacks the core of the party, and I don't know if the voters, or the maybe voters, if they in the end are saying the same thing that they're saying to all this other stuff that came up the last years, it's just brought up by the others. They just want to make them look bad, and it happens everywhere. And I just don't care, because I just want something else, and I just want them to do something for the Germans. I don't know what they're all saying to themselves, voting for them, but. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if it changes something.
Martin Schmidt, thank you very much for coming in. That was a really interesting conversation.
Thanks for having me.